All right, let's do headlines
Brain
here.
is.
Let's
Brain is.
let's do because I want to talk some NFL with Appel. Let's do some headlines here with Solana. Kick off the 3:00 hour.
Driven by the new Palmetto Ford Truck Supercenter. Why buy your truck at a car store? Palmetto Ford. We know trucks. So the Dolphins will play in Kansas City Saturday night. That is 8:15 p.m. They had a 3-game lead on the AFC division, and their loss yesterday, 21-14, after a scoreless second half to the Buffalo Bills, means they blew it, and they'll be the 6th seed in the AFC.
They blew it.
Oh, that's rough.
Looked like it was headed in their direction last night. It really did. It was going to be, I thought, the way that the first half went, you felt pretty good. Like, ooh, you know what? They kind of have this under control. And then that punt return changed everything.
What scared me was how easily Buffalo drove down the field in the first half, but kept getting red zone turnovers.
Right.
And I was like, wow, they can get down there so easy. If he doesn't throw this interception, that game is 28-14 at half.
I texted a couple of buddies. I might have texted this to you, Hawk. That just none of it felt sustainable. But yet it was, though, because they only gave up the 14.
I felt like it was just sustainable because it was Buffalo and because Josh Allen has a propensity to turn things over. And then, you had that Christian Wilkins where he just took it from him. Like it felt sustainable to me.
And it felt sustainable, and then Melvin Ingram was covering a tight end in the second half.
That was unbelievable. I felt so bad for him.
Me too.
I felt so bad for him. I mean, he's out there.
That's supposed to be Jalen Phillips. That's
Right,
supposed
right,
to
right.
be Bradley Chubb.
Right.
Or Van Ginkel.
Right.
Or hey, man,
But
do you see how this man's body type is at 34 years old?
Yeah.
But
Melvin could have covered him 10 years ago, Hawk.
But that's one of those things where you go, okay, is more context required then? Because again, we talked about this last week. You can say next man up all you want, but at some point it becomes ridiculous. You don't have 53 guys who are starters, and you don't have 53 young guys either. Melvin Ingram was fine, but that was not fair for him to be in coverage there in that situation.
Oh, we said it earlier this week before the game. I guess it's last week now. But Melvin Ingram, Van Ginkel, Agba can give you formidable production.
Yeah.
In replacing Chubb and Phillips. It will not be to the level that they were playing at, but it will be formidable. And they were last night. And then Van Ginkel got hurt. And then Van Ginkel's backup got hurt.
Yep.
It just...
Can you rush off the edge, Crowder? Got
Me?
anything?
Off the edge of what? The beer? I can run around the edge of this bar if somebody's back there tending to it. It was... But that's the thing, Hawk. You know what? I'll answer your question because you're 100% correct. Those guys that were in that game are not NFL starters, obviously, because they're third and fourth stringers. There's a lot of players right now that aren't starters in this league in week 18 of the season, and there's some teams looking great right now. The Ravens have injuries. The Bills have a bunch of injuries. There's a lot of injuries in the league, so don't give me – this is the answer.
Bills had none.
This is the answer, though. Don't give me injuries. Give me results. Y'all should put a better roster together. It should be deeper.
Well, I think that's easy to say. I mean, if everybody could have a deeper roster, great.
But I think they do have a deep roster.
I do.
I'm just saying, when you lose Bradley Chubb and you lose Jalen Phillips and you lose Andrew Van Ginkel, like you could have the deepest roster, but you're not going to have Pro Bowlers who are fourth string.
See, but I think what you're saying, Crowder, is true. And I also think that the injury context is important. Like, you can't just dismiss the guys who are out. But at the same time, they're in a position to win the game last night, and they had the opportunities to, and they just flat out didn't. But we're talking about the injuries on defense, like Tyreek, right before the last interception on a pass that was also almost intercepted, took a shot to the back when he fell to the ground and came out for that last play. So you're talking about a Dolphins offense that, at least in the passing game, is built around Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And on the biggest drive and what turned out to be the last offensive play of the regular season, Tua Tagovailoa is trying to fit a pass on a bad route and a bad decision to Chase Claypool because Tyreek and Jalen Waddle aren't on the field.
How about if I told you it's a game that features Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Stephon Diggs, and the biggest catch is going to be Trent Sherfield.
Revenge game.
And it's not going to be for the Dolphins. You're like, what's going on here?
And so while Tua deserves the criticism that he got after last night, the context of what's around him is also important. So obviously after a game like that, you're going to have these sweeping takes and these big declarations about, is Tua the guy? Is he not the guy? And I'm the one who always comes on here and defends him through everything. And all the criticism, it's fair. Like, you can't argue it until he proves otherwise. I still think he's the guy. I'm not sure if I would pay him the Burrow money like maybe I would have a couple weeks ago, but it's really hard to do better than what they have at quarterback right now. You can say that he has his deficiencies, and you can say what he's helped out with, but Hawk, you were reading off the stats earlier. You can't just plop anybody into any offense and have them lead the league in passing. Like, that's an incredible accomplishment. But at the same time, his numbers are the numbers against the better opponents this year. And that's just the reality of the situation. He's a really good player, but there's still a step and something from him that is to be desired. And until, like I said, until he proves otherwise, like, the criticism's fair. It is what it is, and it's part of the position. And you can say all that.
Look how happy he's making Wahomar.
Without being, you could say all that without being out on him. I still love Tua.
I feel the same way. I'm not out on Tua, and I would give him the big extension because I've seen what happens when you look and look and look. I've seen it. But I'm with you. It's a fair criticism.
Yeah, how do you push back?
He's got to step up last night and win that game. You've got the ball in your hand. This is what you ask for in that situation when you have an elite quarterback. You've got the ball in your hands. You're at home. You're in prime time. You've got to go down the field and score a touchdown. You can't throw that interception.
He threw 2 dots over the course of that game in the second half, I should say, to Tyreek. One of them was the drop on one of the third downs, and the other one was the drop on the play that he was interfered with over the middle on the final drive. And while Tua made those 2 throws, the guys like Josh Allen, the guys who are in that elite category, okay, those plays don't work, we'll get him on the next one, and I'll make a play after that. It's like if the one opportunity that they don't cash in on isn't there and doesn't come through, then what happens after that? And that's a separator between guys who are really good like Tua and guys who are great like Josh Allen, who played a horrendous first half, but willed his team there at the end. I mean, that is why he is considered a top 3 quarterback in the game. You saw it last night.
And Josh, something you said too, and I'm not on Inside NFL this week. I'm going back, I think, next week. And if the things go with the Dolphins, like I believe they might in Kansas City, I'm gonna I'm gonna say your name and tell them my buddy told me this months ago. The plan B out of McDaniel. That offense, that's the second half of that game. I felt this way with the Ravens. It's just like, okay, you have a plan. They come out with the Ravens, they go down and quick score twice. Same thing with the Bills. That first half looked good. They seemed like they had a good plan, running the little bang post, whatever they call it, bang H with Tyreek. They had a plan. And then the Bills come out and adjust, and you get 47 yards in the second half. You said it weeks ago, that plan B of McDaniel. Is that on McDaniel? Because Tua only runs the plays that are called for him. But you said plan B out of that gate, and we've talked about it, and I think that is something that I thought about last night, and I thought about you.
I think, well, thank you for thinking about it.
No problem. You're a good-looking guy.
Thank you. I appreciate new glasses. And I don't know if he's a bit heard. Anyway,
you just bought those?
Just bought them. Do I look smarter?
I
already asked that.
On purpose?
On purpose.
Look like Malcolm X.
Wow. Wow. I'll take that.
So you do look smarter.
Hey, how about that? Look,
we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on Tua.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know.
Right over my head. We'll figure that out.
I think that, if you go back and you watch their plays in the second half, was it 17 plays they ran in the second half?
Crazy.
They didn't execute. And sometimes, kind of just alluded to it, like Braxton Berrios makes a catch, can't break a tackle, a yard shy of the first down, drive over. Tyreek Hill drops a good ball from Tua over the middle, drive over. I think it was the drive before that where Tua missed Tyreek to make it a 2nd and 1. Instead, it goes back to 2nd and 15, or after a review, or 2nd and 10, got a couple penalties, drive over. There are execution errors on that drive. Credit the Bills defense for playing great. A couple nice pass breakups on 3rd down. But like, people are saying, why didn't they run the ball more? They had a drive in the second half where they went 3 and out because they ran the ball on 1st and 2nd down, ended up in a 3rd and 9. And that incompletion on 4th down, and that was that. It's execution. And you got to give credit to the Bills defense. They pretty much dared Tua to beat them. They tried to say, we'll take away the run. Tua, you beat us. Shorthanded. And they couldn't. And, we get so wrapped up in analyzing what did the Dolphins do wrong? What did the Dolphins do wrong? And we don't give credit to Sean McDermott and the Bills defense. And they deserve some of that.
All right. Headlines with Solana here.
You're driven by the new Palmetto Ford truck. I already read that. So
Come on, Tua.
any more excuse making over there? Geez. More excuse making. Come on, crank it up, fellas. Crank it up.
Come on, Wahomar.
Browns, Texans, 4:30 on NBC. Steelers, Bills, Sunday. They kick things off 1 p.m. Packers, Cowboys, 4:30. Rams, Lions at 8. And then Eagles, Bucks, Monday night, a week from today, 8:15. That is your first round wild card schedule.
I believe, Solana, didn't you say last week you'd almost prefer to play Kansas City on the road than Buffalo a second time?
No, I did not say that. I would have preferred to be at home no matter the opponent. I do think Kansas City is a much weaker team than Buffalo, though. But it doesn't matter. The Dolphins are going to go to Kansas City. They're going to play in 5-degree weather. It's going to be freezing. And if by some miracle they win this game, they get Baltimore in the second round. And I don't think there's a chance in hell they can go into Baltimore and win. So
maybe if they sign Brent Grimes.
But this is, such a defeatist attitude. Now we're going into the playoffs, and it's well, I don't even care if we win Sunday or Saturday because we're going to lose the one after that.
No, I want them to win. I'm going to root for the Dolphins to win. But hold on a second.
I'm not saying you're not. I'm not saying you're not.
But what type of attitude? Seriously, what type of attitude you're supposed to have? A defeatist attitude? Of course. You had a 3-game lead on the division, and you had a chance to wrap it up at home with a lead at halftime, and you blew it, just like you blew the Titans game, and just like you got blown out in Baltimore. You want to go into the playoffs the way the Buffalo Bills are going into the playoffs, trending upwards on a hot streak with your team healthy. And the Dolphins aren't that. They blew a 3-game lead on the division. Their roster is decimated because of injury. And they just lost the only game they absolutely needed to win all season after having a halftime lead. So yeah, my attitude going into the road against the defending Super Bowl champions in 5-degree weather is not a good one. I'm sorry, Mark Hoffman.
You're a downer.
Okay.
That Arizona Steeler Super Bowl with the toe tap in the back of the end zone. I don't know. Santonio Holmes. I don't know. I was just on threads with a lot of smart people. The Cardinals were terrible to end that season. They went on to the Super Bowl. The Giants, when they beat the Patriots 17-0, weren't they 9-7?
Yep.
They weren't that good.
Doesn't matter to Solana. It's over.
You just watched the Panthers back their way into the playoffs.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Solana's
against the best team
over.
of all time.
No,
Solana's
go ahead.
worried about the Baltimore game.
Go ahead, guys. Go ahead.
Have
faith in a team that hasn't won a playoff game in 23 years, that has lost every meaningful game over 23 years. Have faith that they're going to be able to go at Kansas City, win on the road. Okay, I'll give you that.
What about the Cowboys win that solidified a playoff?
No, it only counts when it fits for what he wants to say. It doesn't matter. The games when they do beat the good team don't matter.
No. This is exactly what's going to happen. Book your flights to Vegas right now, fellas. They're going to go at Kansas City in 5-degree weather and beat the defending Super Bowl champions. Then they're going to go at Baltimore, the number 1 seed that just lit them up 56-19. They're going to beat them there. And then they're going to go at Buffalo, the same team that's ran them over twice this season, and win there and clinch their way to Las Vegas, the Super Bowl. Seriously,
maybe.
Book our tickets right now. Go ahead.
Oh, good thing you weren't running Biden's campaign in 2020. I mean, that guy was left for dead, and all of a sudden, Super Tuesday came around. But no, he's not a believer. That's it.
Solana, you are right when you're right. That's what you like to live on. If this doesn't go the way you want it to, you'll never talk about it again. But you're right when you're right.
It's not true. I'm not happy that the Dolphins are in this situation.
I feel like you are.
No, I'm really not.
I told you, Homar.
I was crushed last night. But the idea that, let's just be happy because they're in the playoffs. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're happy with just making the playoffs, then yeah, you should be happy today. But this is not the situation you want it to be in if you're the Miami Dolphins entering the playoffs. So I'm not just going to sit here and be like, oh, well, they made the playoffs. Good. No.
But you bring up the fact that they're decimated by injuries. So great. They win last night. They play Buffalo at home next week. They're still decimated by all these injuries. They still have to beat Buffalo again at home. I feel like we'd be doing the same exact show today as we're doing now about Kansas City. I feel like we'd be doing the same thing. You could say all the same things if they were playing Buffalo a second straight week at home.
No, because they
Lisa
won the
Bonet
game. They
files
would have
for
won the game.
divorce from Jason Momoa 2 years after the split. They had split, but now it's official.
I'm going to DM him.
I know you are. I was going to say the avenue is now open.
What it is, Aquaman. You good?
What are you laughing at?
Big man asked to sit down, listen for 10 seconds, and said, nope.
No, you're getting pulled away.
All right, guys. Tonight, the Miami Heat, they are in
Give us the
action.
final score for Saturday night already, as long as you know they lost. I mean, what do we? Why
All
wait
right.
around?
No, go ahead. Turn me into the Dolphins hater. I was rooting for them, and I'll root for them again on Sunday or on
you were
Saturday.
rooting to be right. Don't lie.
No, I wasn't. I'm just not going to sit here and pretend like, oh well, injuries. Let's chalk it up to injuries. Oh well.
But you can use that. That's important context. You
It
can't
is.
just dismiss that.
It is. No, it is important context.
You would have to acknowledge, in all honesty, it's a different offense if Raheem Mostert's in the backfield and Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill healthy are on both sides. Like it is.
Absolutely. And if Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips are healthy, Van Ginkel doesn't go down, if Xavier Howard is out there, absolutely. I would have picked the Dolphins to win that game yesterday. I'm not saying injuries don't matter, but in the grand scheme of things, you had a 3-game lead on the division.
I'm with you.
And you blew it.
I'm with you.
And last night,
it's undeniable. You're right. No,
and Hawk, in spite of injuries last night, which again, it matters. That context is important. But you still had a halftime lead, and then the biggest half of Tua Tagovailoa's career and Mike McDaniel's career as well. You went 3 and out 3 times. You punted the ball 4 times, and you threw an interception at Chase Claypool in the biggest half of your career.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all fair.
That second half was embarrassing.
It was embarrassing.
Solana, I'm with you on that. That second half was embarrassing. And speaking of injuries, though, think about the Jets. Aaron Rodgers is healthy. They're in the playoffs right now.
Mm-hmm.
They were a laughingstock of the NFL off one.
I'm actually not certain about that.
But
With
also
a top 5 defense.
But also that's the quarterback too.
A top 5 defense.
One thing you got to say about Tua after this season, though, stayed healthy.
Yeah,
was one of the few starting quarterbacks in the league. He started all 17 games, right?
Yeah.
The only reason I push back on the Rodgers Jets thing is because I just watched Jordan Love take that same Packer team and outplay Rodgers from this year, and take them to the playoffs. It's the only reason I push back a little bit on Rodgers, because he was not the same guy in his last year in Green Bay.
But he would have to be better than Zach Wilson.
I don't disagree, but the AFC's a good conference.
Very good.
Like
way better than the NFC.
Like they're not a shoo-in to be in the playoffs in the AFC if he's healthy. They're just not. So, Nathaniel Hackett's still their offensive coordinator. Like they've still got other issues. I mean, the Dolphins had a pretty good offensive night against that defense without without Tyreek Hill. Only Jalen Waddle. Like that team has plenty of flaws outside of just plopping Aaron Rodgers back in there. Regardless,
10-win team if Aaron Rodgers plays.
Probably, maybe
10-7.
Yeah, maybe.